Yeah, guess who's been funding the BBC? It's right here. If you download the BBC annual report, 2015-16, for example, BBC Media Action 90 projects were supported by a range of funders, including the UK Department for International Development, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, to a total income of 44 million. Okay, so are we going to get the BBC pushing the vaccine agenda now? Yeah, so Hitchens mentioned in there, or tipping us off about the Centre for Evidence-Based Medicine, which I already knew about, of course, but this is something he does, and if you read his blog, he's put an explanation on for us, but he is the gateway. This is the case with the people in the MSF they claim that they're under duress, they cannot speak the truth, the lies are too big to speak the truth. They'll be more than happy, in fact they're delighted to work with people like me and and people that love the truth and just want real genuine journalism. But there is no real genuine journalism. I don't know why he can't go to his editor or his boss and say, look, we need to do some straight talking here. That's what I've told him to do. I've told him to go and see his editor and his boss and tell his editor and his boss at the Mail on Sunday that we're in the shit here as a nation. We're in serious trouble. If there's no straight talking, we are in serious trouble. That's all I want, some straight talking. He's got to use the word hoax. The Washington Times called it the biggest political hoax in history. I've got it here somewhere. Surely the Washington Times, that's an MSM journalist, isn't it, blowing the whistle? So Peter won't report this either, even though he told us and told everyone to check out the Centre for Evidence-Based Medicine. I did ask him to report the conclusion at the bottom. Okay, the conclusion is the data support the theory that the current epidemic is a late seasonal effect in the normal hemisphere on the back of a mild flu season. The age structure of those most affected does not fit the evidence from previous pandemics. Okay, what they're saying here is in all previous pandemics the young are affected, and in this pandemic, or in this, they're not calling it a pandemic, they're calling it a late seasonal flu manifestation. Nothing out the blue at all. Certainly not a pandemic according to how they define pandemics, and we traditionally define pandemics, but of course the WHO are going to try and define it as much as they possibly can as a pandemic, seeing they get 500 million every time they do. So basically it doesn't affect young people. It's not even in the same league as swine flu, and the conclusion is that it is just a late seasonal effect in the normal hemisphere on the back of a mild flu season. That's what we're seeing. Actually, in my opinion, it's not even a late seasonal effect. All they've done is they've pushed the flu figures forward by collecting deaths. They're probably doing this. The government stat people are probably doing. They've probably got their own ONS doing exactly the same thing in every country that's involved in this hoax. So nothing is going on. As far as quite interesting. Peter Hitchens yesterday, or the day before yesterday, he had a post on top from a bloke saying, "Come on, it's absolutely obvious that it's 5G. It's blatantly obvious." Well, some things that are blatantly obvious are intended to be blatantly obvious. We need proof. We need proof of massive excess deaths. At the moment, the excess deaths that we're getting, and we are getting them, but they're coming from old age people dying of neglect, non-resuscitation orders, people, nurses not being able to go in to see them, all some is heart attacks, lots and lots of increases in heart attacks. So these are the effects we're seeing at the moment. Are we seeing 5G effects? Well, I can only report them when I've got some absolute evidence of them. There were some people on Hitchens' blog yesterday saying they've got some evidence that people are getting sick from radiation pneumonia from 5G. His site's down again, so I can't show you at the moment. But and then I posted a load of posts explaining the situation, my theory that COVID-19 is everything, because within all of that they're going to try and hide the harm that 5G is likely to do. I don't think it appears to be doing that much at the moment, but things could change.
This is Treason. This is cover up. The motive is cover it up and then force everybody to get the vaccines so they can say you had it all along.
When HIV happened, was it a shutdown? Did they shut down?
Yeah, former AIDS scientist, and I've got a name here, Dr. Judy someone. You've got to watch it anyway. I'll put the links below for all this. Yeah, Judy, Dr. Judy McTovitz, PhD. She's a whistleblower, and she's basically saying vaccines is what's causing all the pandemics, and in this case, it's a normal virus creating 5G. 5G is causing a cyclonic storm and making people ill. That's her POV on this, and she's an expert. She really does know her stuff.
And those are the clinical data that people are starting to say this doesn't look like a coronavirus, and people don't die of that. And by the way, the hemoglobin and the iron in the form of ferritin is ending up in the blood, and that can happen through 5G and 60 gigahertz, literally releasing the iron from the hemoglobin, and ferritin in the blood will contribute to a cytokine storm. And it's actually your own overactive, dysregulated immune system, the loss of the interferon, that type 1 interferon function, because the inflammatory function drives and is out of control. And it tells how the government refused the healing, relatively non-toxic therapies like peptide T, which Dr. Rossetti's team had also developed along with Candace Purse. And that's how you modulate the monocyte macrophage in such a way to calm dim the fire. And now we appreciate that the dysregulation of the endocannabinoid system, so cannabis can also be healing. And at the level of the stem cells, at the level of the blood stem cell, looking at it and saying, no, that coronaviruses don't do that. They don't cause coagulopathies, blood diseases, thromboplatelet disorders, clotting disorders. They don't cause that. How did HIV/AIDS spread around the world and the country? Oh, well, Tony Fauci, number one, and Bob Gallo delayed the publications of our paper, our laboratories of teams paper, and then in order that Bob Gallo and his crony friend get credit for it, and then delayed serology tests looking at antibodies, who's been exposed, where in the world has the virus been, and how long has it been there. It's not a coronavirus. They're covering up XMRV. Every single day, more data shows me that SARS-CoV-2 does not equal COVID-19. SARS-CoV-2 plus XMRVs, mouse retroviruses, put into people by forced vaccines for at least 30 years of heavily contaminated and dirty vaccines. And the group in Italy proved it as well. So the flu vaccines will have retroviruses. The polio vaccines will have retroviruses. The polio or mouse, there's some bird ones in the flu. So here your government is saying, get the flu shot. Oh yeah, and that will kill you very quickly, especially if you have an underlying XMRV infection that we've been able to successfully treat with natural products, and just as we were in type 1 interferon, just as we were in cannabis, medical cannabis for HIV/AIDS. So the mechanisms and the signature, we published a paper in 2011, which I'll post for your audience on our website, plaguethebook.com. That paper is the signature of XMRV associated disease, because we know a lot of people are asymptomatic. They don't get the cytokine storm. So what else can cause the symptoms? Well, glutathione deficiencies driven by Roundup. So the work of Stephanie Seneff, and of course, James Grunbig and Sherry Tenpenny's work on 5G, causing that iron to separate from hemoglobin and literally end up as the throwing gasoline on a fire, because then the fire trucks, which is inflammation. That cytokine signature is exactly as we published in 2011 for XMRVs.
Okay, so at this point we need just a quick recap of where we are now and what the situation is. And this channel is supposed to be a resource for serious researchers to be able to track back in time to see what went wrong and where it went wrong. You know, this is real news versus fake news. The first thing to report, the first major thing to report, March the 19th, on the UK government
Absolute
website.
bombshell information come through here thanks to Cider Guy. See, it's what happens when we all start working together and sharing links and information.
Yeah, so 19th of March, the UK government downgraded COVID-19 to a non-high consequence infectious disease. Yeah, that was not reported by anyone. It wasn't reported by any of the mainstream media sources. We found two small little news outlets that picked up on it, and that was it. Total shutdown of information. They were following their own narrative, an extremist narrative, a narrative based on models which, you know, even the people who devised the models downgraded them from 500,000 deaths, 2.2 million in America, down to 5,100. You know, the King's College people, these are the people that work for the Bill Gates vaccine companies, you know, and our own government have invested heavily into the same vaccine agenda. And it's just a money-making scam, you know. So that's what, and the media now have been told are also being bribed by, according to Hitchens' blog, according to the information on Hitchens' blog, they're being, and he wouldn't allow it through if he didn't think there was some truth in it, and he does work in the media. Okay, it's pretty obvious anyway. Everyone is being bribed to push this vaccine agenda, and we're the ones on lockdown. We have, as Frank Zappa warned years and years ago, we've had our rights sold. They're in the process of selling them now. Okay, so the media never reported this. It was downgraded to a non-high consequence infectious disease. Forsey, our enemy, writing in the New England American Journal on the 26th of March, said, have they removed that video as well? They removed so many videos. Here it is, thank God, it's still up. It's still up. Busted. Okay, this was on the 26th.
So I found this. Now let's see if the mainstream media report this. This is the New England Journal of Medicine. So it's about as, you know, authoritative as you get.
Okay, so that's Forsey now. He's revealing here in the New American Journal of Medicine that he believes it's now 0.1%, the same as seasonal flu. Remember, coronavirus is the seasonal flu, makes up 15% of the annual flu virus. So he's just busted the whole hoax here. Now again, the media did not report this. This is old information where it's over a month ago. Okay, a month ago, Forsey downgraded it to a 0.1, and it's there for all the academics to see, but it's not reported in the media. It's still not being reported in the media, even though the data is now out and the emperor has been found naked. So we've got German Professor Bakti and Dr. Wolfgang Wodarg saying that the Emperor has no clothes, that it's just the same seasonal coronavirus and the whole thing. The only thing different this year is the media and the politicians have just completely lost the plot and freaked out. Like they have done, like they did do every season. If you can remember, we were building up to this. They tried to go hysterical the last few years. I mean, this was just so on the cards, it was just ridiculous, you know, especially when they changed it was reported a couple of years ago that they changed the rules and you could bet on a pandemic. You know, the World Health Organization won 500 million on their bonds if they won, and there was plenty of media, alternative media, I think it was even on Alex Jones, you know, reporting this, saying that this is just asking for trouble, absolutely asking for trouble. Okay, so Yeah, what's going on here, by the way?
Do you agree with Donald Trump's chief of staff, Mulvaney, that the coronavirus is the hoax of the day?
I don't like to lie.
Do you agree with Donald Trump's chief
At these events, they're very strange politicians. You know, they'll get up to all sorts of horrendous things like faking terrorism and stuff. But when it comes to these select committee type events, you know, they like to try and play by the rules if they can, and not tell any porkies. Although obviously they do. But this is an example.
Mulvaney, that the coronavirus is the hoax of the day.
Obviously, it started off with you know, the Trump lot saying that it was the hoax of the day, because it was. And then when they found out that you know, it was a pre-planned event and there was absolutely no way they were going to get out of it, and they probably co-opted them in, you know, with bribes and stuff, then obviously they had to start, you know, backtracking from what they previously said about it being a hoax,
the department is doing
and play along with it. But here we
everything
have
it can to protect American citizens.
the futurist who is waiting for the rapture to a horror.
Do you believe coronavirus is the
I'm not
hoax
going
of
to
the
comment
day?
on what
Just so you're
others say.
I'm just
Yeah, see, this guy, he just can't get his head around the fact that that it actually is a hoax. You know, he thinks that he's absolutely convinced that when the Trump lot said it was a hoax to start with, you know, that they were just being insensitive.
asking you, do you believe the coronavirus is a
I'm
hoax?
just telling you what the Secretary of State's
All right,
doing.
do you believe the coronavirus is a hoax?
We're working to keep people safe.
You can't
from
even
the
answer that
coronavirus.
question.
Yeah,
It's just it's not even a gotcha question.
Okay, so he genuinely doesn't think it's a gotcha question, because he just thinks it's a prejudice question, you know. It's just something they said out of prejudice and out of just being nasty. He can't quite get his head around that it's a global sort of CIA operation. I think he realises eventually.
Do you believe the coronavirus is a hoax?
It's a gotcha moment.
Yeah, it's a gotcha
I believe
moment.
the coronavirus is a hoax.
It's a gotcha moment.
You believe the coronavirus is a hoax?
It's a gotcha moment. It's not useful.
No, it's not useful, because he would have to reveal it's a deep state, you know, staged event. Okay, so yeah, it's a live event, and here we have Trump. You can tell.
This
Are you
serious? I'm planning.
Yeah, so in my opinion, that guy there, this
questions on life and
this dozy idiot here, genuinely doesn't know it's all a, and most politicians won't. You know, there'll be I don't know what percent, maybe 20%, 10% know that it's a staged event, and the rest just play along with it, and that they don't even care.
death issues from a bipartisan group of America's representatives. You're going to go talk to us.
Okay.
Exercise here to get this right. We're in a live exercise here.
Yeah, so he says live exercise. Before he then tries to get out of what he's just said, you know, Trump's picked up on it straight away and said, you should have let us know, for us to hear. So, yeah, the situation, if this is the real Trump and not us, you know, you can never tell for sure. He's got a lookalike, hasn't he, Trump? Yeah, so he's basically said, you should have let us know. So, yeah, that is it. We're in a live exercise. It's a simulated event, as the World Health Organization website very plainly tells us. We can't really get it any plainer than them just plainly telling us that it's a simulation of COVID-19.
The World Health Organization website here, current coronavirus disease COVID-19 training simulation exercise. Why are they running a simulation in parallel?
Yeah, they're running a simulation, and as I pointed out here, we've got absolute proof that the whole thing was set up as a globalist project well in advance of anyone knowing that it was going to be anything, and it isn't anything. It's been debunked as absolutely nothing. So, yeah, set up as a major globalist project, and that was live on March the 15th with all these links in place to global governance projects and COVID-19 action on the back of this fake stage simulated event. And you know, the final nail in the coffin, if you're wondering if it's a simulation or not, apart from we've got doctors here and everything saying that that everything you're seeing on the media is fake. Okay, that's coming from a COVID-19 respiratory specialist. You know, we've also got absolute proof that the drama we're seeing on TV is being ran by medical simulation teams, teams that specialise in faking events to teach us and educate us what could potentially happen. Colin Smith here is a She has a focus on medical education and simulation, as do all of them that are being presented to us on TV, and who are lying. They're lying, and they actually think the script is ridiculous at times, as you can clearly see here.
I've just had a look at this. He's made it to the mainstream media, the New York Times. If you have a look at this, you'll see that it is all part of the drama. It's all part of the script. It's
disease as challenge.
Okay, you're a to David A.
You're a lion. Yeah. All of these people are putting on a show for us and reading a script, and this guy here, well, Carl Siddle and his mate both think the thing's pretty ridiculous and funny. But he called it a bad film. Carl Siddle called it a horror movie. That's what he called it, a horror movie. And as he said it's a horror movie, he started laughing. Yeah, and you just wouldn't do that. Okay. They are, like I say, running a medical simulation and reading a script. And I mean, this doctor here actually thinks
They can all talk to you and
Why has he got goggles on?
no apparent distress whatsoever.
And then you get them on a monitor and you look up and you see this oxygen saturation of like 45 or 50%.
And I'm telling myself,
Well, that thing on the end of your finger, just twiddle it around a bit, because it's probably not on properly.
this is impossible. This is not possible. How can this be?
It's just not compatible with life to have.
Yeah, he does think the script is stupid. This guy thinks the script is stupid, but that's what he's been told to say. He's been told to say that. And if you look at the comments below on this video, you know, you'll see people saying, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared. That is the idea. You know, they are saying things to try and scare you. They have been given a script to try and scare you. And it's, you know, they don't know. I mean, they should know. If they did a bit of research, they'd know that, you know, everything that we've been terrorised with for the last 20 years, all the major high emotional news events were fake. And they were fake because of people like you, mate, you know, selling out. And that's why we're in the shit.
This is the world that you know.
The smoke from the blast.
As the guy from Five Eyes who turned up on my website about a year ago said, they're not bothered if it doesn't go critical. You know, you can have 20% of the population believing that it's bullshit, but if the other 80% believe it's true, you know, it's not gone critical. It takes a hell of a lot for people to rise up. If you study the peasants' revolution, you know, you've got to be in the fields, work in the fields, and getting flogged before you finally rise up. You know, and we are getting to that stage now because they are you know, crushing. They're trying to get us out in the fields picking fruit. You know, they're turning us into serfs on the back of a hoax. That's the bottom line. That's you know, I've been telling Hitchens the last few days, the last week or so, why can you not speak in straightforward, plain language, hard hitting? Yeah, and Hitchens once said, he said in Fleet Street, we all laugh at the idea that the media is controlled. Yeah, that's how I imagine them laughing in Fleet Street to the idea that the media's not controlled. Okay, so come on, Boris, just give it up. You've overseen the most catastrophic assault on the well-being and liberty of the British people since ancient history. Don't make it any worse. Well, how many more times? He is following a script. He is prepared. I said to John on his blog, and he put it at the bottom, day before yesterday, why are top politicians prepared to look complete fools to serve tyrannical agendas? You know, what power do the powers that be have over them, that, you know, that they carry on like this? I mean, Hitchens, when Boris became PM, Hitchens wrote an article saying he was an actor and that his stage name was Boris and his real name was Al. That's what he is. Boris is an actor, he's a puppet, and we've got a fake government. And I said to John Redwood a few days ago, I said, why should the British people put up everything's a hoax, everything, including the government? And what is it with Labour and are they even humans? Have they even any sort of existence outside of the media bubble, the media fantasy world that's created for them? Do they know people like me exist? Do they know that we know that it's all, I don't understand them. I don't understand. We've got no opposition. There is no opposition to this insanity. None. Apart from me and Hitchens and a few people and you lot. And a couple of doctors and professors now are blowing the whistle and coming out on our side. Thank God. Okay, so look at all the videos I've had removed. This is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Doctors here. Obviously, these doctors were... Part 1's been removed, not Part 2. Part 1 was revealing that it was... they revealed the data. The data, that's what the WHO don't want you to know. They want you to believe in models. They want you to believe in 3-month-old models. That's what the whole scam relies upon. Now the data is in, it completely debunks the whole thing as a massive fraud and a hoax. Okay, that's what was removed, Part 1, revealing that. Part 2 is just a sort of general chat with the journalists, and that they've left that up. Disgusting. Okay, they've also removed the video here that I did, big money ventilator scam. Yeah, that was revealing, that was a doctor revealing that they were being paid $18,000, I think it was $18,000 for every COVID-19 diagnosis and $38,000 to put them on a ventilator. But what makes matters worse is there was a professor, I think it was Dr. Thomas Cohen or Professor Thomas Cohen, I can't remember, doctor or professor, but he was doing a lecture in front of a lot of people in a university type setting. His belief was, and he believed it very, very passionately, that the Spanish flu was caused by the introduction of radio waves, and that the radio waves caused cell poisoning. If you go and study it, this is not a settled science. They've got cause and effect. It looks like they've mixed up cause and effect, as they often do in science. The virus is not the cause of anything, it's the effect of cell poisoning. We're electrical beings, we are electrical beings. So when you introduce radio waves, flu, and this guy was absolutely adamant it created the Spanish flu, that is forbidden science now on Google and YouTube. You're not allowed to say stuff like that. And the theory of exosomes is the prevalent theory at the moment. It's just ridiculous. I mean, it is a... What have they done to science? They've turned it into some sort of superstitious, medieval, papal type nonsense. Why all the MPs are bent. This is me here. I do not see why the entire population of the UK has to put up with this, because we have a fake pretend government who are simply following a script they have been given. Enough is enough. Send in the army. So I'm on Redwood's blog, and I'm down at the bottom where it opens up again. I'm basically saying, oh yeah, I was right, the ONS had been collecting deaths to create an artificial spike. Any chance of them having their independence back so they cannot be used for propaganda and deception again? Yeah, they were independent up until 2013, and then government controlled, and now just absolutely useless for statistics. Yeah, I wouldn't mind the army going in actually just to clear out Parliament. Usually that'd be my worst nightmare, but in this situation I would put up with a temporary government, army government, as long as it was temporary, just to clear this lot out so we can start afresh. Obviously we've got a situation now where the government are in bed with Bill Gates and Big Pharma, and they're locking us all down while they roll out 5G, and while they plan to create a vaccine in possibly short amount of time. It takes about 10 years to produce a safe vaccine, just rushing some crap out that could be anything that they want to inject us all with, and it's now going to be mandatory. Yeah, as from the 27th, 2 days ago, the 1984 Health Act, 1984 Health Act. So it was an act of Parliament that was crafted and brought into being in 1984 that got us in 1984 in the Big Brother dystopian nightmare. Yeah, they've amended it basically, and they've now made it mandatory that we have to have COVID-19 vaccines, and if we refuse, they can take all our property and burn it, like I put here. Dystopian nightmare. The UK government, forced by a globalist plot, have destroyed thousands of people's jobs, mainly hard-working self-employed or restaurant-type staff, on the back of a simulated pandemic, a live exercise, and now I hear they want to turn us all into serfs, picking fruit and work in the field. No, no, no. As Thatcher once said, you are not going to get away with this. And they're not. Oh, this is me as well. Huh. What did I put here? Yes, we need an open debate about the nature of government. The way I see it is we have one or two decent MPs like Redwood and in the past David Davis, who try to thwart the endless evil push by government to suppress and control. But why should there be an endless push by government to oppress and control? The people of the world have gravely misunderstood the nature of politics and have failed to grasp the lessons of history, and that is why we are living in this dystopian nightmare right now. That is only ever going to get worse until the above is addressed. A conversation. We need to have a conversation about the nature of government, because the nature of government is just prone towards tyranny, and that could be because they're all being blackmailed. It could be just that they're all wimps and they just roll over to the 322 people, or whoever flex their muscles, whoever bully them. I don't know. Honestly, I really am puzzled. I am very, very puzzled as to why we've just got a load of absolute puppets following a script, and they are following a script that's been written for them years in advance.